Now, for further exploration of Senate's thinking, we're now being joined by a former Deputy Senate President of Nigeria, Senator Ekweremadu. I want to say thank you very much, Senator, for joining us today on this very topical discussion. And some have been asking pertinent questions, saying how things have played out on the floor of the Senate and also that of the House of Representatives. And the question is, with the way the attitude of the senators and the House of Reps members have been one of self-interest as against one that will help the people choose better leaders for this country. Why has this gone this direction?
Well, I'm not sure of the specific issue you are referring to, but
in terms
my
of
understanding is that you are making reference.
Yes, in terms of, Robert, you're speaking in terms of the electronic transmission of results. It has become a contentious issue whereby everyone seems to be looking for what will help them better win at the polls as against help the nation choose better leaders.
Well, first of all, let me express my appreciation to the Senate for changing their position on the issue of electronic transmission. You know, when the matter came up earlier and then I was voting at the floor of the Senate, most of our colleagues voted against electronic transmission. I was not at the plenary. I was away to Montenegro attending a session of the International Parliament for Peace and Tolerance, where I represented Nigeria. And so when I came back and I was told what happened and how Nigerians felt about it, my response was that, well, we're going to look at it again because I've been in the National Assembly for 18 years now. I know how it works. So the senators function in an atmosphere of conviction. So what we did was to engage our colleagues to let them know the benefits of electronic transmission. And I was very optimistic that that was going to work. The Senate, in particular, is not a place where you go ask people, you know, kind of intimidate them to change a position or to take a particular position. These are eminent citizens, former governors, former ministers, former ambassadors, people who have been around for a long time. So, if you table an issue before them and you convince them, they'll go with you. So that was my optimism when I said that it is likely that we're going to have electronic transmission ultimately. So when we engaged our colleagues, and eventually we're convinced. So I'm happy that that happened. So, so it's victory for everyone. So we have seen the reason why we have to go that way. So namely, it will make a lottery result more acceptable. And then even the issue of a talk day will be cut off. Manipulations will be cut off. And I'm aware that because I've been involved in this matter, that INEC can even do more than the electronic transmission we're talking about. The INEC can even transmit in real times the issue of voting, so that once you vote, it will report in their website, you know, of how you voted, either voted for Party A or Party B. This is before the result is even announced, before the result is calculated. So they can upload the result later, but before you upload the result, any person watching the result would also know who is winning and who is losing. So I think that the INEC has achieved a lot in terms of ICT that I believe that they can do. And they kept saying it, that, look, we have the capacity to do not just electronic voting, but also electronic transmission. So if the INEC is ready to do that, so be it. So what we've simply done is to say, INEC, if you say you are ready, go ahead and do it. And I believe they are ready. And it's going to improve the quality of our results. I was at a Edo election, and I saw the power of electronic transmission. And I believe that if INEC improves its systems, it means that we're going to see something much better than Edo election, first in Anambra election and the subsequent elections. So the National Assembly actually did what they believe is the best thing for Nigeria. Our colleagues initially at the Senate were playing politics with it. They were looking at it from a point of view of their partisanship. So, but when we all sat down after we came back from our break, everybody saw the reason why we have to go electronic transmission. And of course, it didn't take us much time to convince our colleagues, and they all now came along with it. So we are now on the same page with the House of Reps. Recall too that what the House passed was actually what we recommended at the level of the technical committee, and subsequently the joint sitting of both the Senate and the House in electoral matters. So we submitted the report and recommended electronic transmission. And I just want to also say that I have been following this since 2008, the issue of electronic transmission and electronic voting. First, we passed the 2010 Act with electronics voting in mind. But when the thing came, we recommended as a committee to the Senate at the time, but our colleagues were not convinced about it. And so we wanted to take it back. They said, no, we should just write that the use of electronic voting is hereby prohibited. We agreed. So 4 years down the line, I think in 2015, we looked at it again in January or so, and then we were able to amend that section 52 to say that the INEC is now free to use electronic means of voting if they have the capacity. So then we believe that remained the law until today. And so when this new act came up, the new bill came up, which seeks to repeal the Electoral Act of 2010 and to enact a new one. So at our committee level, I looked at section 52. I also discovered that it did not say anything about electronic transmission. Then I had also witnessed the electronic transmission in the Edo State. I now further suggested to our colleagues that, look, let's see if we can include the electronic transmission. It was very problematic. It was hotly debated. So ultimately, I also convinced them. And then we got to redraft section 52 to include the electronic transmission. So, but when we came back, submitted the report to our colleagues, it was delayed for like, I think 4 months from April to June. And so between that time, there was alteration of that same section and then removing the issue of transmission. So we now also try to get our colleagues back on track, through conviction. Eventually, they accepted it again. Then we brought it back before we submitted it to the parliament. So somehow, because of my engagement at the international parliamentary session, I wasn't there when the matter was voted on. So because the APC that were convinced that they didn't need the transmission, we are more in the number. So it was easily carried that there will be no electronic transmission. But when I returned, I just believe that maybe at this point we are not quite clear to them, and they need to understand how we came to that conclusion. So we engaged our colleagues, constructively. I'm happy that indeed they listened to us. And today we can say, thank you, God, that we now have electronic transmission. Hopefully the president will sign this.
Hopefully, yes. Senator, a big congratulations. Just as you said, this is an issue you have been touting since 2008, and it has been an uphill battle for all of us who have been paying attention. And it's definitely a way forward, a positive way forward for the country. I want to ask about the role of the NCC, the National Communications Commission, with the transmission of these results. I know that it was a discussion that was brought up before, and you were actually quoted once as saying that they should not be able, the committee and the NASS leadership, that they shouldn't really be involved in this and they shouldn't touch it with the long pole. Can you tell us what your position is now on what positions the NASS and the NCC should play with the electronic transmission of these results?
Well, I never supported a situation where NCC will meddle with the electoral process. If the INEC wants to consult NCC, so be it. But that shouldn't concern us because that's supposed to be the internal affairs. So, but I am aware that they've had conversation with the NCC severally on this issue of coverage. So, which is where the issue of NCC comes in. And then I'm sure NCC have given them the statistics. But because I know that there are different technologies involved, so it's not just MTN or Glo. So there are several technologies upon which you can transmit results. So it's not just dependent on NCC. So that was why I felt that, look, let's leave this into INEC. They understand these things. They know all the issues, the challenges, and they have to go about it. So and I think that that's the best way to go, because technology keep improving. So if it has improved in such a way that INEC can use electronic means of voting and transmission, I believe that we should be able to benefit from it. So, and I think that that's the way to go, and that's the way most countries are going presently. So I believe that we are good to go.
All right, Senator Ekweremadu, let's talk about the issue on direct primaries. The coalition of united political parties have criticized the Senate's position on this direct primaries issue. They are claiming that why should you force a party to choose how they actually go about their own internal democracy? That it's totally absurd and uncalled for. We know the PDP is against it. But where do you stand? And talk to us about the demerits of having direct primaries.
First of all, let me say that some of these things are misconstrued. The law empowers the National Assembly under the second schedule of the Constitution to make laws on how to conduct elections in Nigeria. So, so it is that in pursuance of that powers that the Electoral Act is being considered and has been considered in the past and passed. So it is a responsibility of the National Assembly, to find ways of making sure that our electoral processes are well conducted through an act of parliament. And that's what gives rise to the issue of the Electoral Act. Now, let me also state that the issue of direct primaries has been with us since 2010. So I was at the Democratic Convention in Denver in the year 2008. And so when we came back, we started to review our electoral system to pattern it after the American process that has been working for them for many years. And because we share the same presidential system with them, so we need to mirror their electoral process as well so that we can get some improvement. So we observed, and of course we are aware, that in America, their presidential primaries takes a long time and they go from state to state and then they do what they call stagger primaries. So some of these things we came back with and said, let's see what we can do to review our electoral process, to be able to conform with the presidential system. And so we crafted Section 87 and then stated in the first draft that Nigerians will conduct primaries through direct means. And now, when we passed it in 2009, it was gazetted, but the government of the day, the PT government of the day, felt that we do not have a reliable voters register, the party membership register. And so it would be difficult for parties, to conduct primaries since they don't have any kind of verifiable, or reliable electronic kind of register. And so we were asked to take it off. But instead of taking it off, we decided to redraft Section 87.1 to say that parties can either do direct primaries or indirect primaries. So that was why APC, when they came on board, decided to do direct primaries, some of their primaries. And somehow it worked for them. So I believe that we are making progress. I'm a pro-reform person. And so if you're a pro-reform person, you have to understand that sometimes reform doesn't come easy. Sometimes it takes time, but it has to be gradual and it has to be steady. So since we've been able to introduce, and some parties have tried it, and it works for them, all we need to do is to set up machineries, make sure that we have the necessary structures that will make sure that it will work for everybody. So my position has been, if we're going to do direct primaries, we need to make sure that each party will be able to do membership register that will be electronically verifiable. So, and because APC has done it successfully, and PDP is doing it now, and I believe that if it is the law, other parties will follow suit. After all, there are conditions for setting up a political party, which includes that you have to have offices in most places. And those who have been able to register political parties comply with it. So once you set the parameters and set the law, I'm sure everybody would like to follow it. The important is for us to continue to upgrade our electoral system, to make our power accessible to ordinary people. So that is my position on this matter. So I think that what we need to do is to ensure, through appropriate means, that power devolves to the people. Now, if you look at Section 87.4, it says that the parties should be able to work out the modalities for this direct primary. So it's not just you just go and do it direct primary. So the parties will still decide how they will do it. Because I also wanted to propose, or rather I proposed an amendment to Section 87.4 to make a proviso for staggered primaries for presidential primaries. But my colleagues insisted that, look, since we've given the parties the opportunity and the powers to decide the details, they may decide to do it by staggered means, and either for the states to be the ones that will be staggered, or be staggered along geopolitical zones. So it's better to leave it at that, and I agree with them. So I think that all the parties need to do is now to begin to work out the details that should be, acceptable to them and should be workable. And importantly, to make sure that each political party will undertake to do fresh register that is electronically verifiable, which will be deposited by the INEC, and the INEC will supervise these primaries. So when this happens, I think that we'll have a milestone. It may be difficult.
But Senator, permit me to
but like after some time,
at this point. Your own party have kicked against this particular model. So are you against your party on this particular model of conducting primaries?
No, the thing is that as a political party, they also need to understand the implications of direct primaries and understanding how it works. So I've not seen the details of the party's reaction, but I know that as a matter of fact, if the party decides to do their primary, the PDP now, they can afford it because right now the PDP is taking electronics membership register. So if they achieve it, then I'm sure they can as well do their primaries, So I recall that when we amended this part of the Constitution to provide for time frame within which election matters will be concluded, the judiciary, they cried out, said they can't afford to do that. We provided for 80 days to conclude it. But after the first and second time they did it, they perfected it. And now everybody's enjoying it. So I just want to appeal to my political party and other political parties, let's give it a trial. We have a full-time parliament. If for any reason it works hardship, we'll be happy to come back and have a look at it. But I think that if we try it and perfect it, it is going to be better for everybody.
All right. Thank you, Senator. We all know that with the political upgrades and trying to make things progressive, there's always a challenge, and you are quite the progressive senator. I want to change the topic of conversation to Nnamdi Kanu and want to get your opinions on exactly how the situation is and the best ways to resolve this tricky and quite contentious situation that our nation is in.
Well, see, I believe in dialogue. And for Nnamdi's situation, I don't think violence is the way. I think we are going to seek and find a political solution. And I say this with a sense of history. In the past, we had this kind of situation. When Wazirike was incarcerated, when he was detained, and I think under Obasanjo regime, Yar'Adua came, he was also in detention. So we sent a delegation, which I led. We met with the president at the time. And after explaining to him how the reasons why Wazirike needed to be released, so we reached an understanding, and Wazirike was released. And when Kanu was also detained in the first instance, also we took the same approach of political solution, which eventually ended up in also a legal solution, where he got his bail. And this time around, I just believe that what worked for us in the past should be able to work for us now. So we are dialoguing with all these necessary stakeholders, the federal government, the security agencies, and to see what we can possibly achieve in terms of political solution. And they're also appealing to our people not to worry themselves about any kind of violent agitation, because it's something that works for nobody. Our friends and our brothers in Cameroon, those English-speaking part of Cameroon, have also tried using violence to seek for separatism. Now, what has happened is that part of Cameroon has since been destroyed. No schools going there, nothing happening there, the economy there is completely destroyed. And we can't go that way in Nigeria, we can't go that way in Igbo land on the southeast. So what we need to do is, if we have complaints, as we do, we need to present it with every force and intellectual capacity at our disposal. So, and that's what exactly we're doing. So we just want to call for caution, in our agitation, and then also for federal government restraint in reacting to some of these things. So Nigeria is a big family, and if one part of a member of the family is dissatisfied about the situation in the family, and he's able to present his facts and make his requests and complaint, I'm sure that everybody in the family should be able to give a listening ear. But I would not also subscribe to a situation where you want to burn down the whole house because you have a complaint. No, because we have no house to live in when it is eventually settled. So that's why we're appealing to our people, our young people, to give peace a chance, to allow for some kind of dialogue and for political solution in all of this. And as I say, it has achieved results in the past, it can still achieve results presently. And we're not relenting in that respect.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you, Senator Ekweremadu.